Santa Maria de Fuori, or as the locals know it, the Duomo, is the permanent landmark of Florence skyline. Not only is it known for its size and beauty, it also has hundreds of years of history, and its dome is a major architectural masterpiece ahead of its time. The Cathedral of Santa Maria de Fuori took over 140 years to complete. A committee had come up with an ambitious plan, and the idea to build a grand cathedral had been conceived in 1293, before the Renaissance period, including the dome rooftop, even though no technology to complete the dome existed at that time. They started build the cathedral anyway, but had they left the part of the dome roof exposed for years, which is why from conception to completion the process took over 140 years. The cathedral is famous for its largest masonry dome in the world, with over 4 million bricks weighing over 40,000 tons, almost the size of a half of a football field across the base, and standing over 10-story high. It is the largest masonry structure in the world. If it's still big deal today, imagine what it must have been like to see back then, before the technology even existed. When we come to the history of this church, they say that the first episcopal church of Florence was the ancient basilica of the Saint Lawrence, outside the walls, considered by Saint Ambrose of Milan in 394. Santa Maria de Fuori was built on top of the small church, which was the second main church in the Florence. There is still remains of the original church that was built on the same ground, now under Santa Maria de Fuori, called Santa Reparata, which the church was much smaller and more modest church built between 4th and 6th century, well before the Middle Ages and the Renaissance period. There is now an underground museum where you can see the artifacts and the important cultural and regional history. The famous bronze door, known as the Gate of Paradise, on the baptistry in front of the cathedral were made by a winner of a citywide competition in 1401. Years before the dome itself was constructed, a convent in Florence held a competition to decorate the east door of the baptistry. They give each contestant the same materials and amount of bronze and allowed them to submit their ideas within the guideline. The two young finalists were 23-year-old Filippo Brunelleschi and Lazzaro Gabrietti, who were both trained metal workers and goldsmiths. In the end, after submitting the same biblical scene of Abraham killing his son, Gabrietti won due to the judges favoring his classical style over Brunelleschi's forward and humanist depiction. Many years after the door had been on display, Michelangelo had commented that the door seemed like the gate of paradise, thereby giving them the name we call them now. It has been said that Brunelleschi's depiction was ahead of its time, using humanism in its depiction and showing the early blooming of the Renaissance spirit. One of the another astonishing facts about this cathedral is that the man who designed and built the dome rooftop of Santa Maria del Fiore had no previous architectural training. Filippo Brunelleschi was a trained goldsmith and had never built anything in his life before building the masterpiece that astonishingly still stands today. Although that sounds crazy, goldsmithry does marry aesthetics and partiality, which Brunelleschi used among his other studies to find the solution to the construction of the dome. By the time Brunelleschi was born, the cathedral had been under construction for 80 years with no solution. As the building of the cathedral continued and had grown larger and grander than the original plan, the question still remained how they would build the dome shaped roof. No one had any idea how it would or could be done, including the artist who conceptualized it. But the Florence were determined to outdo the other cities in Tuscany, no matter how long it took. The famous Pantheon in Rome was the inspiration for the domed cathedral in Florence. Although no architectural plans had been discovered for the building of the Pantheon, the Florence were determined to have something similar even if they didn't know how to do it. They did not like the Gothic style of all the major monuments around the Europe at that time, with the distraction of the flying buttresses surrounding them and the similar look they all had. So they looked to the ancient Romans for inspiration. They idolized their innovative buildings and technology and wanted to be held in the same esteem by their combating surrounding cities of Tuscany, who were also erecting grand monuments for prestige. Ironically, after losing the baptistry door competition, Brunelleschi went to study ancient Roman structures, not to be heard in the history again before returning to the Florence years after. The Dome project was offered as a competition for the public after years without a solution for a sound design. After being under construction for over 100 years, the city of Florence was risking looking like fools to their competitors in the surrounding areas. With an unfinished cathedral and seemingly insane and impossible task to build the largest dome structure Europe had ever seen, they finally offered the challenge to the public, seeking someone to find a solution that would be cost effective and possible. Of course, there was the possibility of building the dome with a wooden structure to support it, but that would end up being costly, required over 400 trees, lot of manpower and time. When Brunelleschi entered the competition, he was the only one with an idea that did not involve wood, which caught the attention of the judges. Brunelleschi won the competition using a simple yak. Florence was so desperate for a solution. Brunelleschi won the competition without ever showing his plan. Although his forward thinking lost him in the competition years before with the baptistry door. It was exactly what Florence needed at that time of planning. He had to pursue the judges, of course, and did so after concealing his plan for so long that a simple yet was what finally convinced the judges. He told them that he would reveal his plan if any of them could make the egg stand upright on the table. After they all failed, he took the egg and smashed the bottom of it on the table surface, causing the egg to stand upright. Although the judges protested that they themselves could have done the same, he slyly responded, saying if they knew what he knew, they could also build the dome. Essentially, they hired the guy with a secret plan and no experience, using his wit and secret design of the dome, which he himself was unsure of since he would need to build it to be certain that a few potential flow could work. He won the competition and was allowed to move forward. He appointed two other designers, including his past rival, Gaddafi. They started at April 1420. Santa Maria del Fiore is the third largest cathedral in the world, the largest one being St. Peter's in the Rome and St. Paul's in the London of today. In the 15th century, when it was completed, it was the largest cathedral in Europe. It is 153 meters long, 90 meters wide at the crossing, and 90 meters high from the floor to the bottom of the dome. It has a Latin cross plan. Brunelleschi invented the technology he needed to assist the building of the dome. Not only did he come up with an ingenious masonry idea for how to build a freestanding brick structure with curved walls without the use of a wooden frame, he also invented the tools he needed to do so. The technology at that time for lifting heavy objects was similar to a wooden gerbil exercise wheel powered by a human but only reached a limited height. When she used oxen walking in the circle for the first time and created a type of mechanism that preceded anything they had seen at the time using three cogged wheel system to control the lifting and lowering of heavy objects without moving the working direction of the oxen, now known as reverse gear. Unlike Da Vinci, Brunelleschi left no notebooks or documents behind for others to learn from, always known as a secretive person. He didn't leave a single building plan, drawing, or even a letter behind on how he managed to come up with such an amazing design for years. The structure was a huge mystery to scholars who needed to find the missing pieces to their theories on how the dome was built. It is said to be that the unprecedented secret to the successful building of the dome was the herringbone brick pattern and, ironically, a flower used to guide them. The dome was completed only in 16 years, in the age when designers almost never got to see their work completed since it took many years to build anything. Brunelleschi finished his project and was able to see his amazing work and the reaction of people. Started in 1420 and finished in 1436. 16 years was shockingly fast for such an astonishing architectural masterpiece. The outside of Santa Maria de Fuere did not look like it does now when it was first built. The cathedral was originally designed by Arnolfo di Cambio in 1294, including the facade. The design and the outer facade went through many drafts and of change and drawings over the years, as you can see in De Museo de Duomo, which is dedicated to the entire history of the construction of the cathedral. By 1418, the cathedral was built. Only the dome remained incomplete. The facade, however, would not be completed until 1887 to what we see today. It was a collective design from many architects and artists over many years. The facade of the cathedral has a long history of dismantling, redesigning, and even a competition to finish it, which turned into a huge corruption scandal during that time and was never followed through with. The facade had been left bare until the 19th century. Emilio de Fabris designed the neo-Gothic facade we see now, which was also designed by competition in 1871. He worked on it from 1876 to the completion in 1887 and sourced different colored marble from all over Tuscany and part of Italy. There are actually two domes. What you see on the outside is just the roof tiles, the shells of the internal structure. Between the shells and the ingenious brick structure is the staircase that allows you to climb all 436 stairs to the top. On your journey, you can ascend the dome. You can catch a glimpse of the original brick layout and see actual herringbone pattern of the brick, just as Brunelleschi had done it so many centuries ago. Last but not the least, the dome on top of Santa Maria de Fuori remains the largest brick dome ever constructed. It is still considered one of the greatest architectural masonry feats that still stands for us to see in awe today. Thank you.